What is going on, Notre Dame fans? Mike Singer and Mike Goolsby live on the Blue and Gold YouTube channel to talk about Notre Dame losing 31-23 against Clemson. Folks, hope you are well, whether you're watching live with us, watching back, or listening via podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, wherever you're listening to this, whenever it is. Just appreciate you guys making Mr. Goolsby and I part of your day. Mike, I see your home field shirt, and of course this show is sponsored by the home field, so thank you to our partners at home field. But yeah,
repping Hartman, dude. I'm running out of shirts. I had to recycle this one.
It's a great looking shirt, Mike. Sammy H looks great on you. So Mike, I guess let's just dive right into this game where Notre Dame outgained Clemson by a good 40-50 yards. I'm not gonna lie, Mike. Second half just really the whole game I thought was pretty bad football by both teams.
I heard you say that. I watched your show with Kyle Kelly, the post-game show, and you'd said that more than once. You thought it was bad football, just kind of clunky gameplay, or what do you think? Or is that what do you mean by that?
5 turnovers, right? I mean, terrible mistakes, right? I mean, both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
Or I should say by both teams. Clemson literally was trying to give the game away. I mean, you look at the drive chart, Mike. I mean, it was.
Yeah, that's what they've done this season. I mean, up until the last couple of possessions, they were trying to give the ball away, give the game away. So yeah, I guess I see where you're coming from.
Yeah. So opening thoughts, Mike. Where do you want to take today's show?
Well, I just filmed an episode on Patreon, so that was kind of like the rated R version. You can find the link through my Twitter bio. So the challenge here is going to be like, how do I go from a rated R version to like a PG rated version for the YouTube audience?
Give me oh, come on. At least, I mean, do we curse on here all the time? But
yeah. It's not just withholding some curse words, but yeah, I think the last 24 hours, I personally have felt physically annoyed, and it's like, and I'm still trying to make sense of it. It's like anxiety, frustration. It's just, this season, the hope that you had coming into it with a, transfer quarterback and the expectations that sort of brought with him, I should say, like this has been a bust. It's been a bust. And I think this Clemson game, it was such a trap scenario, Singer. It's just like, we all knew they were better than their record indicated. They'd had some sloppy football, a lot of just flukish turnovers on the offensive side of the ball. It was a day game going into Death Valley, and it was just like the whole thing set up for a trap, and it's set up for a bust. And it's just like we walked right into it, and it's frustrating. And then it's like, and then what compounds that agitation, at least through just the way I physically feel it, is like now you go into this off season and it's just like run it back. I mean, we're right back where we were. We were right back where we were before Sam Hartman got here. And like so much of, I think, sports fandom is attached to hope. And it's like you had all this hope. So many folks had so much hope in what like a Hartman could bring to the offense. And he's not the sole fault of the offense being so bad, but he is the quarterback. He is the trigger man, and has not even come close to meeting expectations.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's why I just think the level of frustration is like, was this freaking worth it? To anybody watching currently, anybody that's going to watch it 2 weeks down the road, was it all worth it? Because now we start over.
Let me ask you, was it worth it? The other side of that coin is, well, what would you have done differently? Do you just ride with your guys because you don't bring in Hartman? Then you keep Buckner. Who the hell knows? Maybe Pine even stays. Maybe Pine when he decided to leave.
Pine had a better year last year than Hartman's had this year. So
I should say Pine is that early December, so that probably would have been well before. Maybe he knew that they were going to take a transfer. I don't know.
Either way, you lost 2 quarterbacks in exchange for this one. The results are virtually the exact same. So was it worth it? That's my question. And then it's like, what do you do going forward? I'm sure there's going to be a ton of questions about this. Do you play Angeli? Do you play Minchie? Do you rotate them? What do you do with Sam now that the season is a bust? What do you do? And then I'm sitting there going, forget what you thought Sam Hartman was, what you were sold that he was coming into the season. All the accolades, all the statistics, yada, yada, yada. Right? Forget it. Throw it out. I'm saying based off the way dude has played last 3, 4, 5 games, he's benchable. Forget all the hoopla. Forget all the fandom that was associated. Forget all the hope. The guy's been bad. He's kind of sucks. He kind of sucks. So it's like, based off of the play alone, forget the season outlook, forget the whatever, he's benchable.
So you're asking questions. I want answers. What would you do the rest of the season, Mike, if you're the coach? I mean, I don't think we need to ask what you think they're going to do, because we all think they're just going to stick with Hartman. But what would you do? Like, would you want to see them go to another option on their team, or ride out the rest of the year with Hartman?
Yeah, I think you have to. I think that at the quarterback position, I think you have to rotate in some younger players to see what you have on the shelf. And I think that's true at the quarterback position. I think you could make that argument at other positions. Whether it's like, okay, Joe Alt, you're going to go leave, you're going to go get paid. You've been a tremendous player for us. It's like, let's see what you have at your second string left tackle, right? I mean, I think now's the time. It's like you've been losing. You lost 3 games, but I don't see what the risk is in inserting an Angeli, because I think that Angeli, and I'm not even the biggest Steve Angeli fan, not to your level, Singer, but I want to say I'm pretty confident that Steve Angeli could go 13 of 30 for 146, 0 touchdowns and 2 picks. I think he could do that. I don't see Angeli doing much worse. So I don't really see the risk in playing a younger quarterback.
I'm curious from we have other things to talk about. We're not going to spend the entire show on Hartman stuff, but we're going to lead with it. From a former, put your player hat on, and you're in that locker room, and they switch at quarterback. Are you thinking they're throwing in the towel on the season? Do you think that would affect things? Or are they just like, hey, no, we would rally behind Steve? Again, we don't think that's what they're going to do, in terms of, Notre Dame going to a different quarterback. But I'm curious, would that bother you if you're a captain on that team?
It depends on, if I was a captain on the team, and this is me, very old school, and this is just my thoughts, and you could say that I'm wrong, but I would have never embraced the transfer quarterback, especially somebody that's making a couple $1 million a year. Me personally, having sweat, blood, tears with my brothers for the last 3, 4, 5 years, I'm not going to put my arms around a 6-month rental personally that's making way more money than the rest of us who stunk it up. So me personally, I don't care. Now, if I'm a younger kid, if I'm a sophomore, I'm a freshman, I'm a junior, and we're cycling forward to the next generation of quarterback, I embrace that, because that's going to kind of trickle down on me. Does that make sense? So, yeah. No, I don't think that people give up on – I don't think anybody's going to give up on the season. I think that perspective is dependent on a J.D. Bertrand that's probably out the door. Some of these older guys that are on their way out, they might feel one type of way. And I think a younger kid is going to embrace seeing a younger quarterback, because they weren't going to have Sam Hartman next year anyways. So I think for the program, for all those young men in the locker room, I think it could be a good thing.
Yeah. Folks, if you're just joining us, please hit that thumbs up on this video. Of course, subscribe to our channel for more content. I believe we're approaching 25,000 subscribers on YouTube. So we just love you guys being a part of what we're doing here at Blue and Gold, and it's just easy to hit the thumbs up, and of course subscribing. You can get your super chats in now. We will answer them a little bit later in the show. 7:45 the latest. We'll kind of see how the topics with just Goolsby and I progress. We could do it earlier. We may even have a surprise person pop on the show, Goolsby. So we'll see if that person makes it in. Not 100% sure if they will, but we'll see. So just kind of looking at the offense in general, on your Twitter at Mike Goolsby 41, you had talked about, and I think even on our message board too, Mike, there's a pretty interesting thread on our Blue and Gold message board where you were chiming in there. Like you were like, listen, people are dogging the receivers, and you're like, listen, they're you got some freshmen, a backup tight end, and a walk-on out there, and then Tobias Merriweather. Jaden Thomas, I don't know if we know why he didn't play yet. I didn't really read any articles or see anything on that. It's hamstring still. That was it.
Bugging him for, of course. He's a wide receiver. He pulled his hamstring. He hasn't been healthy for over a month.
Yeah,
he needs to shut it down. That's how that goes.
Yeah, so you're without probably your best receiver. So I get that. Yeah, like I understand. Like there's that important context, but like what aspect of the offense are you blaming? Like I'm putting you on the spot here, but who do you kind of blame the most? Or is it pretty equal across the board? Hartman. I mean, offensive line wasn't at its best yesterday. The receiving group, Jared Parker. I mean, what do you think kind of deserves the most blame, or just thoughts on that kind of topic, Mike?
In this game, this Clemson game, I put the lion's share of it on Hartman. And I watched you and Kyle Kelly, and shame on both of you. You guys are like, well, the receiver room.
Oh, come on, Mike.
What?
I was like, it was all bad. It was all bad. I was like, Hartman stunk.
Maybe my ears were clogged, but you guys were throwing a lot of shade on the receivers. And I've just found it. God, I've been talking about this for a month. I was like, when it goes bad, who's going to take the blame? Is it going to be I say it every week. Is it going to be the offensive line? Is it the receivers? Is it Parker? Way down that list, there's your quarterback that never really takes any blame. This game in particular, Hartman played like ass. And he said so in the press conference. He's like, I played terribly. It was unacceptable, whatever. He played bad. You guys can sit there and say that receivers weren't open. There's receivers open. Are they wide open? I mean, this isn't a video game, folks. There's receivers open. He was brought here to be accurate. He was brought here to make good decisions. And in this game in particular, and it's been showing itself games leading up to this, inaccurate, horrible decisions. So he gets the gold star in terms of, who takes the most blame for the Clemson loss. Parker's in second place. I'm to the point now where being critical of wide receivers, a room chock full of freshmen, I'm having a difficult time as an ex-player pointing too many fingers at that room. I think our expectations for a 26-year-old quarterback should be a lot higher than they should be for a room full of a bunch of freshmen. So, like, shame on all of us as fans if we're pointing fingers at wide receivers. I'm just saying they can't throw themselves the ball. But then I think Freeman takes a little bit of blame for this game. I thought the team didn't come out fired up. I talked about that on the Patreon. Everybody was looking at this wasn't a night game in Death Valley as being a pro, and I understood that argument. But I'm saying for our guys, the travel, the early kickoff, I mean, those guys are still cleaning sleep out of their eyes. And, it was kind of a slow start. But I think Freeman takes a little bit of blame because our defense has played so well this year. They had a rough start. But I tweeted this, 9 minutes left in the third quarter. Clemson had nothing offensively. They were out of ammunition. They had no aces up their sleeves. It's like, okay, it took Golden a while, but we got them figured out. Marcus Freeman, Coach Parker, they seemed to like freak out and got away from the run game, which is supposed to be our identity, which we had such great success with in the first half. It's like Freeman didn't think we could stop them from scoring points. It's like eventually we stopped them. It's like, go back to what worked. You had it within a score. So, but yeah, Hartman takes the most blame this week for sure.
Clemson did to Notre Dame what Notre Dame's been doing to other teams. Like when Notre Dame has won, like, some of these quote unquote big games the past couple of years, like it's not, super flashy offensively, but it's good defensively, right? A pick six. You make a special teams play like Clemson. Does that kind of make sense, Mike?
Yeah. No, they played a team game, is what you're saying.
They did, and that's
I mean,
what
our
Notre Dame
best
did to
games,
beat
it's been a
USC.
3-phase. We win on all 3 phases, the best games. And
Yeah.
I think that, Freeman's got to make some moves here, because I know that he's entrusted Al Golden. The defensive side of the ball is in good hands with Coach Golden. Freeman's been pretty vocal. He's no offensive guru, right?
Correct.
So Freeman's somewhere in the middle. And Freeman needs to spend more time with the offensive side of the ball. I'm not saying he needs to get into the minutia of play calls, et cetera, but get on your freaking headset and say, hey, Parker, run the ball, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, you can dip your toe into that water as the head man. And
maybe not like a per play basis, but like some kind of like overall like theme of what we want to do offensively kind of chime in more.
Sure. I mean, the way the game opened up, it was like, damn, we're making very impactful runs. We get down a little bit, and then we freaked out. We freaked out and completely switched up. And then you go back to that no identity, and Hartman's having a bad game. He's having a bad day at the office, and then we're still continuing to try to throw the ball. So,
against my better judgment, Mike, I'm going to bring up another Hartman topic, because I think the Drew Pine, the Drew Pine Hartman comparison is interesting. Now, I think the schedule last year was, significantly.
So is this going to be you trying to prove me wrong here? Because I'm not here for that. Because I've been right since January. So we can get into it. Go ahead. I just hate when people run to statistics, because you could configure statistics however you want, whatever is convenient for your argument. But go ahead. I'm listening.
Just bringing up the numbers. Pine, 65% completion, 2021 yards, 21 touchdowns to 6 interceptions is a pretty good ratio. 183 yards per game, couple rushing touchdowns. And Hartman, on the other hand, 63% completion, 2,272 yards. Now, he had some, big passing games, early.
Yeah, against non-FBS teams early in the season, sure.
Yeah.
Go Ohio State, go Ohio State in the remainder of the season.
Yeah, correct.
When it
and
mattered.
then he had 18-7, and then even the yards per game from Pine from 183 to 227, difference of 40 something yards, not a huge difference. So, and then
I sit there and go talking about moving forward with Angeli and or Minchie. Last game, Hartman was 13 of 30 for 146, 0 touchdowns, 2 picks, 39 QBR. Against Pitt, who's an awful team, 18 of 25 for 288, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Against USC, 13 of 20 for 126, 2 touchdowns. Louisville, 3 picks. So it's just like, again, the message, the story was accurate leadership, decision-making, et cetera. And there's been a regression there, and you could blame whoever you want. I'm just saying, as I've said since January, he was never that special to begin with. And get it through your heads, people. People want to blame the receivers. They want to blame Parker. They want to blame everything but the quarterback.
I don't know, man. I think it's pretty split on lot of
Mike,
people.
I've been personally attacked for 11 months.
I'm saying right now it's split.
Yeah, right now.
People are off for sure.
Right now. Yeah, right now everybody sees the light.
Yeah. Folks, we're going to hear from Home Field, which Goolsby and I are both rocking our Home Field right now. An amazing collegiate clothing line, officially licensed and comfortable clothing, and they have fantastic Notre Dame designs. And Mr. Goolsby is rocking his Sam Hartman Victory March tee. I'm rocking the Notre Dame tennis sweatshirt that I wanted for a while. Home Field was kind enough to send that to me, so thank you, Home Field. So folks, please check it out at homefieldapparel.com. Fantastic Notre Dame designs, really getting into the art guys and showing off the nostalgia. There's just that kind of nostalgia feeling when you look through these designs in their clothes, and it's very unique and thoughtful. Can't wait to see more folks rocking their Home Field at these Notre Dame games. They actually have a licenses to over 150 colleges, so you can find college shirts for really anyone. And even better, when you use the promo code BlueGold23, you will receive 15% off your first order with Home Field. Site is easy to shop to find perfect college football gear you need to complete your game day outfit. Be prepared for the fall and into next year by shopping today at homefieldapparel.com. And remember to use that promo code BlueGold23 and receive 15% off your first purchase. So that's Home Field. Thank you for sponsoring today's show. Mike, just big picture outlook the rest of the season. Like 7-3, you got Wake and Stanford. Where you kind of go from here, deal. What are your thoughts?
I mean, good thing we've got 2 weeks to process this, with this bye week. Because this loss, bro, for whatever reason, and I think it's the Hartman thing. It's really just like, I'm just so annoyed. So I don't really have any like cohesive thoughts on the rest of the season, other than the season to me, the Hartman experience, the Hartman experiment, however you want to look at it, wasn't supposed to be an experiment. It was supposed to be a sure thing. It's been an abject failure. So it's like, I'm just more like it. Let's see what young quarterbacks we have on the shelf for the future of the program. And with that, why not sprinkle in some younger talent, at various positions. If you got guys that aren't coming back, fifth-year guys that are going to the league, et cetera, you're building for 2024. Personally, I don't know how any of us, coaching staff included, and they're having these conversations now, right, Mike, about what we're going to do quarterback 2024. Freeman said that they were going to take this time off to get their arms around that. So they're going to figure out what are they trying to do, transfer portal, et cetera, 2024. We all think they're going to get a transfer quarterback. Been saying it since January. But now on top of that, you got to talk about what are we doing at quarterback the rest of the season. And I don't know how you can make an informed of a decision for 2024 at quarterback unless you see these guys get some run to close the year out.
Sure. I do wonder if this failed, and I agree with you, Mike, it's a failed experiment. In terms of expectations, I personally still think they improved the quarterback room with him, but it's not as good as we thought it was going to be. We being me and some others, maybe not you, Mike.
Appreciate that.
But I wonder if they say this didn't work. They're kind of gun shy on doing another one in another year, Mike. I was going to say, I was going to say this is 3 out of 4 years, but I mean, this current staff had nothing to do with Jack Cohn. But I do wonder if they're like, man, what if we just run the guys out there that we have, because we'll have Angeli. This will be his 3rd year in the program. Maybe he's your guy that you run out against Texas A&M. If he stinks the bed, dude, you got Minchie, who I hear is doing pretty well. And then you even have Carr. So it's like, if they don't see next year's team as like man, we could bring in the big time transfer portal guy at quarterback, and it's still not the year, then maybe we just run with our guys. If they believe in that quarterback room, then maybe they just do that rather than going to the portal. It sounds like a conversation we had about this time last year, Mike.
Yeah. So that's the whole thing. And it's not that like, oh, I'm vindicated or that I was right and I'm rubbing it in your face. It's more so like I'm sitting there going, why would you listen to anybody else? So like this offseason, find us, find me. It's just like versus everybody else is blowing smoke. So that's like the one thing. It's just like, that's where the frustration like comes from. But yes, you're going to get a transfer quarterback. But then, are you going to be a little bit gun shy? Sure. I mean, you're not going to find anybody with more experience than Sam Hartman. That person does not exist. They'll never exist coming out of COVID. You're never going to have a 6th-year quarterback again. What needs to happen, whether Parker stays in that role, but like you've got to figure out what is the ask of our quarterbacks. Like what is the offensive philosophy? Because it's like whether it was Cohn, Pine, Hartman, it's all kind of the same thing. I mean, the results week to week, whatever, we don't have a dominant, impactful offense. And that's just kind of the ask. I mean, Hartman was like a John Stockton. He was just a point guard. You know what I mean? People thought he was Kobe. And like, no, he's just he's John Stockton out there. He's just dishing the ball, whatever. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Do you think that for Notre Dame to get a true truck, big time quarterback, right? Like a top 5, 7 quarterback, it would need to be an underclassman guy because, like you said so many times, like you're going to the league, right? If you could go to the league, you're going to go to the league. Like if you're transferring as a grad transfer, like you're maybe not that guy, right? Does that make sense? Because like underclassmen quarterbacks transfer. I mean, Caleb Williams transfers after a year. Like those guys will move around. Does that make sense, Mike? Does my question make sense?
Yeah. So you're saying if it is a transfer, is it a 5th-year grad transfer that's looking for some money like Hartman was, or is it a guy that actually wants to elevate his draft stock and go play in a pro?
No, I'm kind of getting at, if you're going to go to the transfer portal quarterback route, how good can he be? Like I mean, like how much better can like Notre Dame ever find a better quarterback than Hartman?
You got to understand how maddening this whole thing has been, Singer. Because I said in January, and I've said like every single week, it's like, what are the criteria to win the job? What are the 5 things that matter? Arm strength, whatever, experience, practice, mobility, leadership, like whatever the things are, what are the 5, 10 things that we're evaluating the position on? Freeman's got to come up with that, probably solely. Freeman's got to come up with that criteria, and then we base our decisions. It's like your value system in your own life, Singer. Your value system is going to dictate your course. So what do we value in the quarterback position? Make it public, and then we either seek that person out or we develop those things from the kids that we have. I don't know if that answers your question, but yes, all this baloney about all this baloney about, oh, Hartman's coming to elevate his draft status. It's like, get real, dude. If anybody believes that, I got some swampland in Florida, whatever the analogy is, I'm going to try and sell you. This was about getting paid, and he knocked it out of the park. Because I heard like $2 million now with NIL. Well done, Sam. Thanks. Moving on. So that's something I'm also going to take into consideration if I'm looking at a transfer next year.
I am curious.
What are their priorities?
Yeah. I am curious, like, what the hell this looked like in practice, this offense. Like, was Notre Dame, when it was best versus best in the scrimmage, was Notre Dame's passing offense just getting shut down? And Notre Dame's probably, like, the coaches are like, well, I mean, we got these. I mean, our DBs are pretty darn good. I mean, the safeties corner, like it's a good unit. I mean, but when we play other teams, it'll look better. Like that's where my mind's starting to go. Like what actually happened at practice?
To lead up to what are you talking about? Like camp, etc.
Correct, camp.
So what happened in practice to what set these expectations? Finish.
No, I'm thinking, was it this bad? Like, was the passing offense this bad in camp? Right, because they go out and they torch against Navy and Central Michigan, get it. But Notre Dame's like if Notre Dame's offense played Notre Dame's defense in a college football game, Notre Dame's defense would have its way with the offense. Like, what did those guys see at practice? What that must have been.
Can I give you a thought? I love your train of thought. Can I give you an answer?
Please.
This is just right off the top of the head. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
I've watched enough Sam Hartman, and believe me, folks, nobody's seen more film than your boy. Maybe Tim Hyde, probably Tim Hyde, if I'm being honest. And like people are like, oh, I'm reading the comments. Receivers aren't open. Dude, I have hardly slept. Nobody watched that Clemson game more than me. Receivers are open. And you probably didn't play either like I did. I'm just saying, receivers are open. Hartman, he's a competitor and he'll tuck the ball and he'll run, and you love to see those heroics. I'm here for it. But he doesn't extend the play, Mike. And that like, okay, I'm going to slip out of the pocket, right? I'm going to extend the play. He doesn't do that. And when we watched him at Wake, slow mesh, right, which holds the safety. And then what happens? That interior line kind of parts. And Sam Hartman would step up into that pocket, and his vision is clear, right? He's literally basically where the center would be. If he was like he steps up in the pocket, he has clear vision, he makes a throw. At Notre Dame, he don't do that. We talked about it on the Patreon. Sam Hartman has changed his throwing motion. He's throwing up off of his toes now. He's starting to sail a ton of balls, right? He can't see like he did at Wake. So you mentioned practice. You can't touch the quarterback in practice, Mike. So that allows Sam to kind of like, he's not playing real football. So he might have slipped. It's like, okay, well, here comes Botello, tags off, would be a sack. You get what I'm saying? It's not live bullets. So he can move around. Sorry if I'm boring you, Singer.
No, sorry, no.
So that's my 2 cents, is that it's not a realistic look. And then furthermore, I said this before, when Sam was at Wake Forest, nobody gives a shit about Wake Forest. Nobody circles Wake Forest on their calendar. It's a throwaway game for most of their opponents. Sam Hartman, playing under the lights at Notre Dame, is getting a different type of energy from the defenses he's ever played against. It's just true.
You're good, Mike. Just have been battling some stomach issues this week. Just
good God.
Yeah, no, it's been a.
Well, if you got to run off, just tee up a bunch of super stats.
Hey, no, man, we no, I won't be dipping off screen. I'll hold it in. We're good. Mike, we haven't really talked about the defense. I want to just touch on that before we get to the super chats. I mean, it wasn't terrible. I mean, Clemson kind of had, some of those big games.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, of course, it was 31 points, but there was the pick six, the Moffa touchdown, dude, where DJ Brown, I think it was DJ Brown was blitzing, runs right by Moffa. Marist, I don't know what he was looking at. Just
never do, Mike. We never
do. He was unblocked and just nowhere to be found.
He loves to shuffle. Like, he just shuffles, hands out at his side, just shuffling. And I've said this for going on 2 years, bro. If you run the ball right at Marist, he cannot diagnose, as I say, diagnose downhill. He can't do it. He'll run and chase. He'll run over the top, be a backside pursuit. He'll do it. Yeah, people want to put that blitz, put that touchdown on DJ. He's way too wide on his angle. He's thinking quarterback. He's not thinking run blitz. Marist, you have to find the ball. And Tim will say the same thing. Tim will be like, oh, that's on DJ Brown. Yeah, he didn't condense. He didn't squeeze the air off the edge. Defense, they like I said, they did what they had to do. They did what they had to do, and defense played with poor field position. Offense played with worse. I mean, Clemson had the ball, a lot of plus territory, but it's just one of those games, bad game, where we just gave up chunk runs, man. And just, I've always said, like, foundationally, fundamentally, as a defense, especially in college, Mike, it's like we're stopping the run, and that gives us a place to stand. And in this game, we didn't do that. It's like watching USC last year, just these chunk run plays, and they're debilitating. When you get gashed in the run game, it's like, it's like a body shot in boxing, right?
Yeah. And it's just like the whole game, you just add on that Clemson was totally banged up. They limped into this game.
They got like freshman offensive linemen. That's another thing that I wanted to talk about with you and Kyle Kelly dogging our receivers. It's like, bro, Clemson was playing true freshman at corner. Like, they were. So we got true freshman wide receiver, true freshman at corner. It's not like they were lined up against, Cam Harton, Morrison. Receivers were open yesterday. I don't care what anybody says.
Okay.
But yeah, so that goes back to, like, I talked about this on the Patreon. Freeman's approach to this game. It's like they got so many young kids. We kind of came out flat. They're down. They're at their second string running back. Their quarterback's no good. I just wonder about the approach to the game. It kind of felt like that Louisville sort of, mojo or lack thereof. And that, like, we went into Louisville like, oh yeah, we're going to rotate guys. Like, we got this locked. And I don't know if we overlooked Clemson, which is so frustrating because it was such an obvious trap game.
Yeah. All right, let's dive into the super chats, starting with some that came in before our show started. Hank with 10, he says, I asked the same question about Golden a year ago with regards to players needing time to adapt to a new system. Fellas, does the same question follow Parker? Is he the guy but needs more time? So quick two-parter there, Mike and Hank. Appreciate the 10.
So, yeah, the Golden thing, it was pretty clear that the system works, but he's tried on a couple different things. Sorry I always give the longest answers to these. But like last year, Hank, remember we saw Isaiah Foskey, a second-round draft pick at defensive end, playing inside linebacker. Like that, we had like 3 down, we had 3 up. Like Golden flushed that down the trash. So he's learned. Golden's also had dudes like a Marist, like a JD, a Watts, Morrison, Hart, Henderson, DJ Brown, Howard Cross, Riley Mills, all those guys have gotten another year of repetition. So it's absolutely improved. Is it going to take Parker another year? Not necessarily, because we're still running Coach Reese's offense by and large. I mean, the run calls are a little bit different. There's some couple scheme things that's been different. So I don't think, he needs another year, whereas Golden came in brand new. Am I making sense, Singer? Do I have a cohesive thought here?
It makes sense. And
Okay.
I think offense is kind of easier to pick up. I would be my opinion. I think that defense, like the designer defense, that's probably more complicated than.
Yeah, there's more nuance. There's more checks out of it. That's a good point, Singer. There's more checks out of it. So, yeah, I mean, maybe Parker's going to improve. You can't imagine he's going to get worse, but we have as an offense the last year. I don't think he's the guy, and nobody's calling for him to get fired, but this is big-time football. But whoever you bring in next, Freeman has to be able to illustrate what he wants an offense to look like. That's going to dictate his decision-making process, who he interviews, etc. Fans, we all want to see the ball pushed downfield. Freeman wants to run the ball. But if we don't have, we got to figure out, what do you want that offensive identity to look like?
Yeah.
But no, I don't think Freeman needs another year, because, again, this is these players' second, third year running Reese's system.
Yeah, Hank, appreciate the 10. Joey with 10 says, screw it, fire the whole offensive staff. I'm sick of these candy. Gosh. Hardman experience is blown up in our face. Time to develop players. Transfers are not going to mess the problems Indy has.
Yeah, I mean, the quarterback position, especially a one-year rental, Joey, is incredibly problematic, because then you're starting over every single year. So I agree with you. Transfers masking problems. It can. I mean, Jean Baptiste has been one of the best players on defense. Harper's played great. So transfers can work, but at the quarterback position, it's a whole different ball game. So I would imagine you're going to get transfers at the wide receiver position, I would imagine.
Yeah. It's like when an NFL team signs Phillip Rivers for 1 year. You're just going in for that year, and you figure out next year. That's kind of what this is for the 1 year rental thing. It's very much just.
But it's God, is it fascinating though? Because all your sources, Singer, told you this was a playoff team this year, right? They did.
I mean, I would hope they would think that.
The reason they thought your sources felt this, and the reason the fan base felt this, was your transfer quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, he was supposed to cure a lot of these ills across the board. So you can't half-step it, because I haven't half-stepped shit since I've been doing this. Fans are half-stepping and be like, well, 6 months ago, he was a top 5 quarterback, and now you're talking out the other side of your mouth saying, well, it's our wide receivers can't get open. It's like, well, which one is it? You're half-stepping.
I think it's both. For me personally, I think it's both. I'm just not.
Nobody, and I've noticed this. Nobody in the media is going to throw Hartman under the bus, because so much of your off-season content was propped up by the guy. So you can't renege on that.
Well, I mean, it still is.
Yeah.
So, Mike, so much of your content is Hartman too. So, I mean, it's just the other way on it.
Yeah, but it's the right way. But I was one person swimming upstream for 11 months. One person.
Now I know.
Now I'm in a tube going down it.
It was a win-win for you on that whole thing. So, their Notre Dame does great, or you're very much right. So, win-win. Adam with 5 says 10-6.
This is a great question.
Is it the score 10-6? Why were Hart and Morrison on the bench? Lewis, Mickey, and Gray were the corners. Clemson salvated and exposed Lewis and Mickey to go up 17-6. I honestly don't. I didn't know this part of the game. I missed that, but I've seen.
That's okay. I do. So that was planned rest, to answer Adam's question, which is another sort of not red flag. It's just an eyebrow raiser from Coach Freeman. Because like, okay, we went into that game with, we're going to plan to rest Hart and Morrison on a given series. Does it make sense to take them both out at the same time? Absolutely not. Did Morrison play last week? No. So he should be rested. That from Freeman is very similar to like we're going to rotate our interior O-line against Louisville. It doesn't make sense. And like, this isn't the game where it's like, we planned on resting them. It's like, okay, well, the game plan, the script, the flow hasn't played out that way. Boneheaded decision by the coaching staff.
Did Freeman say that, like the planned resting, like that was confirmed?
That's
like I hadn't seen it. That's crazy. Huh. Some trust in those young teams.
Like Freeman said after Hartman threw a pick six, right? Freeman said like it spooked him. He used the term spooked. You know, it's coming off of Halloween. He's like, it spooked us. We want to get back to the run game. And it's like, well, damn. Your sixth-year quarterback threw a pick six and you got spooked. I thought that's why he was here. It was to give you that confidence.
Let's hear from Augie's Locker Room. Another one of our best sponsors, folks. When you come into a Notre Dame game, or when you come into South Bend for a game, whether it's this season, next season, or any seasons, you have to make time for Augie's Locker Room. They have a wide selection of Notre Dame Stadium pieces, jerseys, helmets, autographs, and one-of-a-kind Rockney items. They have exclusive Joe Montana signed items and famous sculptor Jerry McKenna's replicas of the bronze statues around the stadium. And Augie gets new stuff in all the time. If he doesn't have something you're looking for, he's going to go out and find it for you. Visit Augie at 1811 South Bend Avenue and see the vintage helmet display dating back to 1890. It's got some amazing stuff that you're going to want to check out. Visit augieslockerroom.com, 574-277-6363. And it looks like they may be moving as well. Augie posted on Facebook, although we are not officially open yet, we have moved into our new location at 1733 North Ironwood Drive, South Bend. So check that out. So definitely go to augieslockerroom.com and give them a call, 574-277-6363. Moving along in the super chats. Appreciate the support, everyone. Thank you to Augie's and Home Field for supporting tonight's show. Andrew asks, Mike, who is your preferred offensive coordinator or three candidates?
I can't answer. Andrew, I don't think I could. And dude, it's a great question. It's a fair question. I spend an ungodly amount of time with this stuff, and this isn't my full-time gig. I couldn't name one. I couldn't name one.
Well, it doesn't.
And we're not even having that conversation yet. Yeah,
that's the thing. So I don't think
people have asked me what transfer quarterback should we go after. I'm like, I haven't the slightest clue. When we pick one, I'll talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, if Parker gets let go or Parker leaves, then let's talk about this. But at this point, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So Andrew,
I think it's more of just to give him some sort of answer, because it's more of a philosophical thing where Freeman has said he wants to basically run the ball. The program's built on O-line, D-line play. Does that philosophy change or shift for Freeman? But whoever that offensive coordinator is, and what Freeman wants for the program, they have to marry up. They do. And I don't believe, I've talked about this quite a bit, went into this great detail on the Patreon, but like, we sit there as fans, Singer, and we're like, oh, we got to go get that guy. No, we want that guy. Like we're shopping at the mall with American Express Black Card or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Here's John checking in.
John Kennedy says, I'm spooked by the Notre Dame offense the last 25 years. John, what's up, buddy?
So like we don't have like an unlimited budget to go after people based off this Andy Ludwig debacle. But beyond that, whatever coach has to want to come here as well, folks. So it's like we have a ton of faith in Marcus Freeman. We love Notre Dame football. We're optimistic. We see CJ Carr. We see Cam Williams, etc. These other coaches are going to have to, some offensive coordinator at that Tulane, or he's at whatever, Southern Miss, or he's at UCLA, like they have to move their whole family here. And Marcus Freeman has yet to really prove himself. And that's something that those younger OCs are going to take into account. Tommy Rees going to Alabama, that's a no-brainer, right? Coach Freeman, Notre Dame right now for a young offensive coordinator isn't necessarily a home run.
Yeah. All right, Mike, we got about 30 super chats. So, let's
I'll be quick, dude. I'll try to be quick.
Let's dive into these. Colin, $10 says, maybe everyone set expectations too high. Receivers never get separation. Receivers are the slowest in the country. Need transfer receivers, or next year is the same regardless of quarterback.
Well, Colin, you're wrong. Respectfully, you're wrong. They're not the slowest in the country. Yes, we probably want some transfers, but just a tip, Colin, don't use definitives when speaking. So you say they never get separation. They had to have at some point, right? We've completed a pass this year. Moving on.
All right, Colin, appreciate the 10, brother. It's good to see you. John says, since Ohio State, Notre Dame is bottom 5 in Division I for third down percentage last 3 road games. Hartman passing efficiency rating is the same as Iowa's offense all year.
Yeah, that's accurate. It's like I said, when you were trying to compare Pine stats to Hartman stats, it's like, no. Let's delete those first 4 games against non-Division I teams, FBS teams. Yeah, Hartman's not good. You heard it here first.
John, appreciate the 5.
Rick, he's literally not. Just to be clear, he's not. Like, it is what it is.
Rick, $5 super chat. We have not won a national title with a senior quarterback since at least 1964, so we can drop the portal and focus on recruiting and develop the quarterback position.
I mean, you're going to get a portal. You're going to get a transfer quarterback. And there's nuance to all of this stuff. And people want to have selective hearing. But it's like, I challenge Freeman to come up with 5 criteria, what we're looking for in a quarterback transfer portal or not. And then the other thing is, if you do bring one in, so you have 4 quarterbacks on scholarship, like Freeman says, are we going to guarantee him the starting job like we did with Hartman that people want to argue about? You're wrong again. He was guaranteed that job. So that's problematic. You bring in another transfer and guarantee him a job. Horrible for the program.
Rick, appreciate the 5. Dr. Petro, $20 super chat, very generous. Thank you. Said, where was the juice versus Clemson except Watts? There seems to be no on-field leadership.
No, I sense that too watching the game. I think it's a byproduct of that early kickoff. And Singer, again, you have been doing this for several years now. Like, day games for Notre Dame athletes aren't ideal. They have a different schedule than the rest of the country. And but it's real. I mean, they are human beings. They're not robots, right? So yeah. Those early days, they fly in Friday afternoon, go to a walkthrough, go back to the hotel, wake up and go balls to the wall, right? It's a difficult ask sometimes for Notre Dame athletes.
Dr. Petro, appreciate you. You're a legend. Peter Pye with $5 says, watch Parker is so irritating. He is so predictable, only running in 12 and 14 personnel and no play action to get receivers open. I believe, I can't believe I'm forgetting the guy's name, but he does video stuff for Irish Sports Daily, and he tweeted out, you guys let me know in the chat. I can't remember his name. 2 of 36 plays or something like that were play action. Isn't that crazy?
No, it is maddening, Peter Pye. It is maddening because so many of the fixes are so obvious to like lay people like ourselves. And I've argued for going under center. Go under center, run play action. It works. We've seen it work. And it's like, nope, we're good. We don't do it. So yeah, I understand the frustration.
Yeah. Appreciate the super chat, Peter Pye. Rick with another 5 says, the crossing routes and slants work for this team and it was working, but they stopped. Why?
Well, they probably took it away. The crossing routes and slants work for this team and it was working, but they stopped. Yeah. I mean, he likes to run crossers. He likes to do rub routes. We've seen that. Dude, Parker loves that tight end displaced. It's like out of 11 personnel. You saw it with Mitch. He runs a little out route. The outside receiver goes vertical. It's the pick Hartman threw a pick 6 on. I have seen that route combination 50, 60, 70 times this year. It's just like the tight end doesn't even switch it up and run an in route. It's always an out route, try to bait the corner. It's the same play Tobias Merriweather scored a touchdown against Tennessee State. Yeah, it's frustrating. I don't have a great answer.
Rick, appreciate the 5. Mike with 5 says, somehow we coach Sam down in our system. Would he have been better if Tommy were still here?
Oh, that's another thing. Because before it was Pine sucked and Reese sucked, and now it's like before it was like Reese sucked, Pine sucked, Buckner sucked, Book sucked, right?
Dude, everyone sucks. Yeah.
But this year, it's only Parker sucks. Hartman doesn't suck. So it's like it's our fault. It's Notre Dame's fault that Sam Hartman isn't winning the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
Now, I'm saying Mike Nolan, to answer your question, the system that Hartman played in, he had clear visibility. He had no rush. And it was just, I'm telling you, he wasn't like that talented of a dude. You've seen him be slow in progressions. You've seen him be inaccurate. Part of it's because he's playing behind a line. He doesn't extend a play. He's been sailing balls. But that offense at Wake was slow mesh, step up in the pocket, jump ball.
Yeah. We were looking at Tim Hyde joining us, but Tim's not able to join. He had a family function.
Yeah, his tail's between his legs, dude. After that debate he and I had. I'm just kidding, Tim.
I think he was at a funeral. Jeez. Hank with $5 says, I might be nuts. Is it worth looking at Rudolph to run the offense? Won a lot of games at Wisconsin as the offensive coordinator, or possibly look beyond the program?
I don't know. That would just be irresponsible, and it would be speculation on my part. I know nothing,
guys. Yeah,
in regards to that. But I do think that, like, if you demote Parker and then you elevate another guy that's already on staff, I can't see that being good for the coaches, coaches chemistry.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, if you retain Parker for 2024. And you get another transfer quarterback, hypothetically, these are things that could very easily happen, Mike. I wonder if people start to look at Freeman less glowingly. I think something needs to happen here in terms of coaching dynamics.
All right, Hank, appreciate the 5. Eric says, we're built like the old Wisconsin teams right now. Offensively, thoughts on giving Rudolph the play call duties. Yeah, so we just touched on this. So Eric, appreciate the 5. And yeah,
no, he's not wrong. Yeah, this looks like Big Ten football.
Yeah. So yeah, we just talked about that. But yeah, appreciate it. Colin says, stop blaming Hartman for everything. Colin, you're not on the right show, buddy. You gotta start putting these on Wednesday show.
Yeah, well, so no, I'll go along with it because that's $15. Colin has contributed to be wrong on both accords. So if you're telling me to stop blaming a 6th-year quarterback that's making $2 million a year to be here and is going to set the program back a year because we're starting over, I can't blame him. Yet you want to blame the wide receivers, which a bunch of true freshmen. Beyond that, Colin, do you think Sam Hartman had the wherewithal to look at the roster before he came over here? Yes or yes?
I'll say yes.
I'd say yes.
Yeah. Colin, I still love you. Thanks for the 5. Chris with 10 says, now that we're not playing for anything significant, it's time to abandon the Sam Hartman experiment and start Angeli. As Goolsby says, let Steve Angeli take his lumps and develop from within and stay out of.
I want to be clear here. I am not saying that Angeli is the guy by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm not saying I don't believe that Angeli has the genetic DNA championship potential. He is not the guy to take your lumps with in the way that Minchie or maybe even a Carr could be.
If they go to the portal this year, I know you're saying you've been calling it, but are you like, that's a bad move? Like, do not do that like you were maybe this past year?
I'm going to get some of this stuff tattooed on my forehead so that obviously I'll do it backwards so people can read it. You're going to get a transfer quarterback. Coach Freeman's told you as much. He values experience. He wants 4 quarterbacks in the room. It's coming. The nuance there is don't guarantee the son of a gun the job.
So you're okay if they bring one in?
For sure, because Angeli ain't the guy. Now, hypothetically, if CJ Carr was Angeli in terms of the length of time in the building, you with me on that, Singer?
Yeah.
If that was CJ Carr and I had Minchie as a backup, I'd say no transfer quarterback. But given that Angeli, who I just believe has physical limitations, Angeli's like a Jack Cohn to me. Probably.
Okay.
I think that's the ceiling as a Jack Cohn. Good quarterback, not championship quarterback. So I'm talking specific to Steve Angeli being your number 2, bring in a transfer. If Steve Angeli was CJ Carr, I say no transfer. Stick with Carr and Minchie.
Go Irish with $5 says, at what point do these performances impact recruiting in the current commits? These guys have choices. Seems like uncertainty starts creeping in. Yeah, dude, Notre Dame's 7-3. If they were 3-7 or something, nah.
It's nothing to worry about. It's nothing to worry about. Having been a recruit, I promise you, folks. Like if Notre Dame was in some kid's top 5, let's just say some hot shot 2025 recruit, and it's like Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, name 5 other schools, I can promise you that young athlete isn't watching any of those 5 games on Saturday. And then I think negative recruiting doesn't really happen as often as people think. Like they think, oh, well, so-and-so is going to get on the phone and call them and sling mud against Notre Dame. That doesn't really happen.
Yeah. You guys also have to understand, like, how you think about Notre Dame football is not the way that these kids do.
100%.
It's just not.
Dude, they're on Snapchat. Like they're not even watching the games. I promise you. I train the kids every weekend.
Yeah, like they're excited about their future there. Like they're not like.
And if anything, the coach is going to be like, "This is why we need you."
Exactly. Eric with 10 says, does Hartman look shell-shocked to you? He looks like a completely just kind of a side note. If I were you guys, I would say some of these super chats for the Goolsby Show until later. Be like, Goolsby and Singer didn't talk about this topic. So I just want to say, like, we love the super chats. We're very appreciative of them, but like some of these things,
it's a good point.
We're going to talk about Hartman, Eric. I love you. Appreciate the 10. He does say, does Hartman look shell-shocked to you? He looks like a completely different quarterback since Ohio State. Is this a case of lost confidence, or you think he was never good? You guys and this is just tossing up a softball to Goolsby.
But I like the way that this is framed.
Yeah.
Does Hartman look, and we can go long today, right? It's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Does Hartman look shocked to you? I don't necessarily shell-shocked to you. No, I don't know necessarily. No, I'm going to say no. And generally speaking, no. I'm going to say no. He looks completely different since Ohio State. Yes. Why? Because we're playing Power 5 teams. The first 4 weeks where he was close to perfect. I mean, folks, we're playing FBS teams. Like we're playing historically black schools. We're playing Navy. Like we weren't playing good teams. So he hasn't looked the same because the level of competition is greater, and sure, that affects his confidence. He ain't that good. He's realizing it.
Yeah. The YouTube chats just cracked me up. I shouldn't have given that little tidbit on my my issues this weekend with my bodily issues, because they're just roasting me, and it just makes me laugh. Sometimes I'm laughing at. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, you said you do it to yourself. You're going to live off Taco Bell, man. You got to deal with the repercussions.
The irony is that this wasn't Taco Bell this time, but we'll continue on. Mike with $5 says, running the ball is our strength in Coach Marcus Sherman's philosophy. So why so little play action in the passing game to complement only 2 of 30 plays per play action? Yes, we talked about this. I
don't have a great answer. It's too obvious. It's some of this stuff. It's just like, it's too obvious. And in particular, and that's the thing. It's worked when we've called it. Yep. So I don't have a good answer.
Mike, appreciate you. Steve Perry with 10 says, regardless if the Irish went out and grab a victory in a second-tier bowl game this season, we'll have once again ended with the program having more questions than answered. For once would be nice the other way around.
Yeah. I mean, you're only a couple of years into Freeman's tenure. I agree. And me personally, I would rather go to a Pinstripe Bowl and win a game than go to a playoff and lose, or go to a New Year's Six. I'd rather just finish out the year on a win, personally.
Really?
Oh yeah, for sure. Sure. It's not a national. I mean, if it's the playoff. I mean, if I'm going to a New Year's Six bowl as a player, I don't care. I want to play for a championship. Okay. Personally, we talked.
So you put playoff in there. You'd walk that back, right? Just and New Year's Six, but playoff. You'd rather take a playoff because at least you're making the playoff. You want to make.
If we get embarrassed, dude. If we get embarrassed, no. I mean, if we lose 42-10 in a playoff game, I'd rather go win the Pinstripe Bowl.
This is the player lens, Mike Goolsby, because I'm thinking
No. I'm just saying, like, if you look at Notre Dame as a playoff, as a program, when we've made our runs to the championship, we've gotten our dicks kicked in, right? And then people, it's like, okay, then we get relegated back down. We get pushed back down. They're not a real contender. So as opposed to us, like, we weren't a championship playoff team this year. I don't care what you thought about Sam Hartman. We weren't. So had we made the playoff and we got the break speed off of us, I would rather just go win a Pinstripe Bowl and keep building momentum. If you get beat down in a playoff game or even a New Year's Six game, that sets the program back, to me, more than just winning a Pinstripe Bowl. It's just momentum.
Yeah. My thought would be, you go undefeated in the regular season or one loss. That's better than like an 8-4 and you go to your Pinstripe Bowl. That's kind of my counter to that.
That's fair.
And also, I mean, we won the Gator Bowl last year. I was like,
felt good. Our quarterback looked great.
Will Falk with 5.
Looked amazing.
He did score a bunch. Will Falk says, I don't understand the debate regarding developing quarterbacks versus taking one from the portal. If the offense needs a makeover, wouldn't any quarterback be starting fresh? Unless there's not a makeover, because you're starting the same quarterback from the year before.
I don't understand the debate regarding developing quarterbacks versus taking one. So he's saying it's the same thing either way. Will, you got to watch more of the show. I get your argument. So you're saying you're starting over with player to be named later regardless. The issue is, Will, if player to be named later is a Sam Hartman that's here for 1 year, you keep starting over. That's the debate. Everybody looks at this stuff as a 1-year deal. It's a program. So, like, everybody only thinks about it versus 1 year. It's like, no, this is a long-term thing. NFL teams don't build a franchise for 1 year. They'll get close. They'll build and build and build. And like, to your point, Mike, they'll swing for the fences for a free agent signee to push them over the ledge. You with me, Singer?
Yeah.
So that's the argument, Will, is like, if you get a player that's in your system for 2-3 years, you can build, and they're back. So you're not starting over. I hope that answers your question.
Yep. Well, appreciate you. A new face. Glad to see you in here, buddy. Smooth yet psychedelic with the $10 super chat. You'll never convince me that Hartman isn't an improvement over Buckner/Pine. He's been bad, but I feel for the guy. He committed to Reese and got stuck with an offensive coordinator who's never called plays before.
Mike, I'm not trying to convince you.
What?
No, I'm saying this. I'm not trying to convince you. I'm not trying to convince Tim Hyde that he's that he's an improvement. My point is, he was a finished product, and the finished product wasn't that good to begin with. Maybe a Buckner, maybe a Pine, maybe an Angeli, maybe a Minchie, maybe a Carr. They can improve. So, of course, he was better because he's been doing it for 5-6 years, right? He didn't commit to Reese. Hartman was a Freeman guy. So you're wrong about that.
Yeah, I think Hartman was just kind of Notre Dame guy, in general.
Dude, yeah, like I said, it's good for whatever's good for the brand, dude.
Notre Dame. Rick Palmer with $2 says Hartman is 0-6 going against Clemson. Has he really played Clemson 6 years in a row? That's crazy.
He's at least 0-5. I think he's actually 0-5, to be fair. Yeah. But no, like Tim Hyde said, he gets a pass. He just plays bad against Clemson, or he plays bad against Louisville, so he just gets a pass. And what's crazy about this Hartman thing, it's literally like puke. People will watch Hartman play like shit against Clemson 2023 for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, And they'll come at me on Twitter being like, he threw 6 touchdowns last year. It's like, who cares? Who cares? He still lost. And it's like, he plays for us now. That's their argument, is he threw 6 touchdowns last year. What a silly argument.
All right, I'm going to go through the super chats and let's just get all the Hartman ones out. JP, $5. Do you actually think Buckner or Pine would do? Oh, you guys are killing me. I love you guys. You guys are killing me. Do you think
killing
actually?
You, it has nothing to do with you, Singer. And it has nothing to do with you. Mike, do you think Buckner or Pine would do better than Sam? Long term, probably, which was my argument the whole time. There's room for improvement with a young quarterback. There's room. You saw a 6-year quarterback throw a pick 6 against a team that he's played 5-6 times. But you see a young quarterback do it and you crucify him. So, yes, JP, I think long-term, maybe not Pine, physical limitations, but long-term, I think a lot of these kids could be better than Hartman.
JP, thanks for the 5. Scrolling through. I agree with Mike. From Mark, I agree with Mike. This transfer portal has changed college football /NIL. Same getting $2 million, and the other guys have to sit on the bench.
Last thought. Put it on a T-shirt, brother. Notre Dame will do more for Sam Hartman than Sam Hartman will do for Notre Dame.
Date it. January 1, 23. Okay. I think
Buckner,
that's it.
I'm reading the comments. Buckner and Pine both trash. What is Hartman? You been watching the games?
Eric Seitz, $20, very generous. Thank you. He says maybe it's too early, but confidence in what next year will be with a new quarterback, new strength coach, new left tackle, retooled secondary, possibly a new defensive coordinator and offense coordinator. Also, 100% agree with your Hartman take with Hyde last week.
What is my confidence? Shoot. It's too early.
We don't know who the quarterback would be. We don't know who the strength coach would be. But we don't really know who the left tackle would be. We don't. How the hell are we supposed to have any confidence? Really?
I think that a lot of this is my answer. Yes, Eric, I appreciate the super chat, but it is a little premature because we're not even done with 2023. But so much of people's hope was tied to Sam Hartman, and that hope is gone. This season, this experience with Hartman has been an abject failure. The guy is not good. So much of that hope has to be renewed somewhere because you errantly, falsely attach so much hope to one player that was never that good to begin with. So, yeah, I personally probably don't go. I go into next season with more questions than answers. I mean, the hope that I get is from these recruiting classes. The hope that I get is from Cam Williams. Everybody, Mike, wants to talk about CJ Carr. When it's all said and done, Cam Williams, I'm telling you, talked about this with John earlier today. Cam Williams has got the potential to really kind of shift the tide in terms of the way Notre Dame receivers are looked at. He's a special kid.
Couple Chicago guys talking about a Chicago guy. You love it.
Yeah.
5-star Notre Dame receiver commits. 24 class will be in South Bend in a couple months. Jay with $10. Thank you. He says, I don't know about you guys, but I am definitely afraid of what the offseason will bring. Lousy 9-3 finish with no offensive identity. Defense unloads with a majority of seniors/grads. Is next year an auto rebuild year?
Depending. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's got to shake out in terms of who's going to come back, who's going to be asked back, who's going to leave. Yeah, it absolutely has the potential to be that. It absolutely does. And then you're like, okay, what transfer wants to come? I'm telling you, man, there's going to be no shortage of things to talk about in the offseason. And we just got to get through this year first. I hate to say it.
No, it's fair. Jay, appreciate the 10. Pilney 35, $20 super chat. Thank you very much. He says, this was a talented team that withered under poor coaching. Ohio State game proved that leadership matters. There is no such thing as a good team with crappy coaches. Another head coach with no head coach experience. Growing pains equals losses.
No, I agree. But, I don't think that the team was incredibly talented. And I think we all agree with that. The problem with the team is the offense. So are we talented? I don't know. Is Hartman that good? I don't know. Are the receivers that good? I don't know. So it's like, we are talented. Are we elite? No, not in enough areas, not in the areas that count. But yes, there's absolutely going to be, some growing pains in terms of Freeman's still to this point is not a great in-game coach.
Penalty 35, appreciate you. Mr. Game of Fame with $5 says, listening since the beginning of last season, first time super chat. If Barker gets canned, how much trust do you have for Freeman for hiring or how much trust do you have in Freeman for hiring the right guy moving forward at coordinator?
No, I appreciate you watching all this time. Thanks for the super chat. I like the way you framed how much trust do you have in Freeman hiring the right guy? It comes down to what Freeman wants for the offense in terms of an identity. It comes into the administration supporting Freeman because there's nuance to all of this, right? We're not going to the grocery store with an unlimited budget. It's just not the case. What does Freeman want? What does admin allow for? And then beyond that, will the person come? Because we sit there and think as Notre Dame fans, we can get anybody we want. That's just not the case with an unproven coach like Freeman.
Mr.
But
Game of Fame,
do I trust in him? Do I have faith in him? Yes.
Mr. Game of Fame, thank you. R. Mendoza, stating the obvious, but next year is such a big year for Freeman. Yeah, year 3 is always very important.
Yeah. It'd be nice if he went into year 3 with a quarterback. If you knew who your starting quarterback was going to be, wouldn't it be? That'd help you sleep at night. But we went all in this year, starting over next year.
So with that statement, though, that you're saying that you would have preferred them to stay in house, right?
I just wish we had the same quarterback for more than 1 year in terms of building a program. Okay. And I think maybe you picked the wrong guy to go all in on to start over next year. Was it worth it? Was it worth it to lose 3 games and go to the Pinstripe Bowl? I just don't know if you had kept a different quarterback, kept the Pine, kept the Buckner, I don't know if you couldn't have had the same results with those guys. Sam Hartman hasn't been good.
R. Mendoza, thank you for the 5. Jim with $10, he says, we obviously need more coaching expertise on the offense side of the ball, but let's get real. Watch the LSU, Bama, and USC Washington games, and we are nowhere close to having that kind of elite offensive talent.
Agreed.
All right, Jim, thank you for the 10. There you go. Goolsby agrees with you. Appreciate you. SB with 5, he says, new subscriber, lots of talk about the passing game being too simple. How simple is too simple? Where does it become too complex? Is this all BS?
I can't get into that for $5. Oh, new subscriber, let's talk about the passing game being too simple. How simple is too simple? Singer, help me out. I'm getting tired. Where does it become? I mean, listen, folks, I'm pissed. You can't ask 3 questions in one question, especially when there's 25 super chats. Not to be a dick, but it's like that's 15 minutes to unpack that. How simple is too simple? I don't know. Where does it become too complex? I don't know. It depends on the players. Is it all BS? Football isn't that difficult. I could say that much. Football's not that difficult. If they're blitzing up the middle, run something over the middle. The safety drops down, you run something behind it. It's like there's a chain of events that happens with play calling.
SB, appreciate you though, brother. Welcome to the
dude. Sorry,
welcome to the effing show, man.
How many more do we have left?
6.
Perfect.
Mike Nolan with 5. He says, Mike and Mike, what does it mean for Freeman not making a New Year's 6 bowl? Expectations were very high going into second season. Love the show.
I think it's still too early. It's so funny. Mike Nolan, let somebody else get a super chat in, by the way, brother. Or join the Patreon. You can ask all the questions you want for less than you've spent this episode. What does it mean? So we were supposed to be a playoff team this year. So then we went from being a playoff team to being a New Year's 6 team, and we didn't do that. So the expectations were high. Why? Because of your quarterback. End of story. So it's like, again, you brought the wrong girl to the dance.
Mike Nolan, appreciate you, brother. Trash says, what I want for Christmas is Singer's charm, Tim's wisdom, and Goolsby's awesome physique. Found Caleb Williams' reaction to his loss hilarious. Hashtag Karma Trash. Good to see you in here. As always.
Caleb Williams, he's there's a lot going on with that kid.
Yeah. Michael with a $2 super chat, no message. Michael, appreciate you and your support for the show. Mark says the narrative I keep hearing is that the receivers can't get open. If that is true, can you help me understand why it doesn't make sense to me?
They are getting open. They are getting open. Sam won't throw it to Tobias Merriweather after his like mid-season kind of like drop fest. He doesn't trust him, which I understood. You know, a guy has to trust a receiver. He trusted Mitchell Evans the same way that Pine trusted Michael Mayer. But yes, there are people open. There are people open. I'm telling you, I watch a lot of the film many times over. I don't think that Sam Hartman can see him. And that's why I said early on in the show, Mark, he doesn't extend the play. How many times have you seen Sam Hartman can't find anybody and he sacks himself? We've seen it, Singer, right? He just tucks it and closes his eyes and gets sacked. He's not a great quarterback, dude. So it's like he could find work. He doesn't do that. So yes, receivers are open. Are they running wide open like first round picks from Alabama, Georgia, LSU, etc.? No. Are they open? Yes.
Mark, appreciate the 5. Al with 10 says, so if Freeman wants to run the ball, why did Estime get 3 runs in the second half? Down 15 is not enough reason to me. Yeah, brother, we're with you.
That's what we're kind of saying. That's what we're kind of saying. And that's, I don't know if Freeman, it's a 2-platoon system. You got offense over here, you got defense over here. Freeman was freaking out because they put points on the board. He's like, well, shit, now we got to throw the ball. And it's like, no, trust Golden, trust your defense that they're going to tamp it down. They put the fire out, get back to running the ball. We could never switch gears.
Yeah.
And that's, again, you could put that all you want on Parker, but, you know, Freeman is the head coach and he can be like, hey, Parker, I want to run the ball. Yeah. You know, that's his job.
Al, thanks for the 10. And lastly, Rich had a $5 super chat. Did not see a message from you, Rich, but we do appreciate the support, as always, folks. So, Mike, that's going to wrap it up, brother.
I'm exhausted, dude. Sorry I'm so fired up. This is, you know, just like you've seen this coming for a long time. And it's just like, and then I'm just annoyed that we did all this for nothing. It's a bust. And now you got to start over next year with somebody else. It's annoying to me.
Yeah.
And after I've been told I was wrong for 11 months, it's just like, not like a FU, but it's just like, dang it, guys, this could have been prevented.
All right, everyone, that is going to sign us off today's show. Please hit that thumbs up before you get out of here. Of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content. BlueandGold.com is your home for all things Notre Dame football and recruiting. Give Goolsby a follow at Mike Goolsby 41. Check out his Patreon and the link of his Twitter. And as always, folks, we will catch you guys next time.